All right, what is up, everybody? Fresh off of a Thursday night thriller between the Falcons and the Bucs, and this one is just everything that you hope for in primetime football. A nice overtime victory to carry you into the weekend, riding the high. That is the enthusiasm of football fans. So before we jump into it, like and subscribe, comment down below. Let's talk football, baby. That's what we're here to do. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Falcons edge the Bucs. Pause. Win in overtime. Kadero Hodge. First 2 career catches to seal the victory. Division game. Thursday night football. Falcons are in trouble if they lose. They fall to 1-3. Bucs go to 4-1. Forgot we're already on week 5. Time's flying. This is a big game for the Falcons. You needed this. Not only does your record stand in peril after only 5 weeks if you drop it, but now you lose to the team that you're probably going to be neck and neck with throughout the season to try to win the division. But fear not, because Kirk Cousins sets a franchise record with 509 passing yards. Adds another 4 touchdowns. Was just lights out. And this is what you brought Kirk Cousins in to do. You paid him $50 million a year to take your team over the edge. You knew that you had a good setup, a solid offensive line, a premiering wide receiver 1 in Drake London, who you drafted first overall a couple years back. You have Bijan Robinson. You have a great RB2 in Algier. You also you signed Darnell Mooney in the offseason. You have Kyle Pitts. You have a solid defense, but you were lacking consistent quarterback play. And throughout the first couple weeks, you were a little bit concerned because you were wondering how much is this Achilles injury gonna hamper Kirk Cousins, who we've known from his career, not a very mobile guy. So does this lack of mobility even further hinder his ability to navigate the pocket? Because he hasn't been a scrambler, so you weren't worried about his long speed. But quarterbacks like Peyton, like Kirk, like Tom Brady, while they didn't have stretch the field ability like Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar, they're elite pocket movers. They sense pressure, they can step up, step to the side, and still deliver the ball out on time. Let me get a little bit of light here. But I think that Kirk Cousins has put that all to rest now. He brings your team back against the Eagles, goes 80 yards in a minute with no timeouts. You get the victory. He leads you down the field to get a game-winning field goal last week against another division opponent in the Saints. And then this week, he goes for 509 yards, brings your team down to get a field goal to tie the game, and then 70 passing yards on the game-winning drive. Falcons fans, you have to be ecstatic. Because you were wondering if your franchise was a little cursed. Your GM and head coach seemed like they didn't have an idea of what the hell they were doing in the offseason by drafting Michael Penix when you could have added another weapon for this potent offense or solidified your defensive line that has really been a question mark over the past few years. But you opted to draft Michael Penix Jr., a pro-ready quarterback who's 24 years old after you already signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal. And I had the red flag waved. I was like, this team, they're not going anywhere. And I got to say, the grit that they have shown, their 3 wins being final minute victories, not only is that amazing because you notch another tally in the win column, but you add a layer of belief into the team that says, yeah, if we're down with a minute left, we're fine. We're not going to get rattled because we've already done it 3 times. We know we can pull it off. Another amazing thing is, and we've talked about this before, Jesse Bates, every week, seems to just re-solidify himself as one of the best free agent signings of this decade. Has the game-winning interception against the Eagles. Has a huge forced fumble play tonight to get the ball back. Even though the drive didn't go anywhere, it halted the possibly game-ending momentum that the Bucs were gaining and helped you come away with another win. And now you guys are 3-2, tied with the Bucs. You're ultimately in first place because now you have the head-to-head matchup, and you also are 2-0 in the division. So if you're going to lose games, you obviously you don't want to, but if you have to choose, you'll choose out of conference or out of division games. When you're starting off 3-2 and you're 2-0 in the division, that's a big deal. Those weigh the heaviest come the end of the season. This team has shown a lot to like. Something that I don't like, though, and I was watching the game with a couple buddies, there has to be some sort of underlying issue with the fact that Bijan Robinson is not getting the ball like a premier number one back should. I know it was a different regime that drafted him in the first round last year, pick number 8. It's not like you drafted this guy number 25 or traded back into the late part of the first round to snag him. This was your top 10 pick. And you picked the best running back prospect that we've seen in a long time. Probably since Christian McCaffrey. And tonight we saw Tyson Algier for most of the game. And in the most critical situations, he was the running back out there. And this has been a consistent theme over the 2 years that Bijan has been on the field for the Falcons. He still managed to almost eclipse 1,000 yards last year with being underutilized. But now, this year, coming into it, you thought that, all right, he was going to be the sole focus of this offense. You're going to run the rock with Bijan Robinson, and you're going to hit play action off of that, which Kirk Cousins is elite at. I would say him and Jared Goff are the best quarterbacks at hitting the layups that play action offers you. But tonight, in the fourth quarter, he's only got 10 carries and 2 receptions. That's 12 touches for your best offensive weapon. So I know that the Falcons probably felt from the onset of the game that Kirk Cousins was feeling it, which he was. You could tell from the start of the game when he drops back and he plants that back foot and he rips it over the middle with conviction. You know that Kirk Cousins is feeling a little spicy this evening. So you ride the lightning. You throw it 50 times and he gets you 500 yards and 4 tutties. So you're not going to complain if your running back only has 50 yards, especially if you get the win. Who really gives a shit? But it just makes you want to peer behind the curtains a little bit and look at why. Why is he not getting the ball more? And I'm not dissing your other running back. He's clearly a solid player. But Bijan Robinson, when he's in, is electric. And he's a game-changing player who, at any moment in the game, can break a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, juke a guy at the second level, and take it 70 yards. So I'm not sure if some Falcons reporters or coaches are going to give some insight, or even if it's going to get asked. But there has to be some sort of underlying reason as to why he's not getting the touches that he deserves. My only thought is that Algier is outperforming him in practice. There'd be no other reason that would make sense. Maybe an injury, but he's not showing up on the injury designation. So sort of a weird development there. Maybe they're trying to save his, keep some extra tread on the tires come the postseason. But that's not really how football works. You don't sit guys just to rest them. This isn't the NBA. If you're injured, you play. And if you're healthy, you play more. So sort of a weird, thought-provoking situation going on there. Really the only negative in the game for you guys, and I wouldn't even call it a negative, I'd just call it more of a topic of discussion. The real bright spot tonight, outside of Kirk Cousins dominating a good defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is, as we mentioned a couple weeks back, talking about Drake London. This is his breakout year. And holy shit, is he breaking out like a teenager in high school. I mean, he is dominating. He looks like Mike Evans Jr., especially when you watch Mike Evans on the other side. It's like, yeah, this guy's got it. Tonight he goes 12 catches for $154, gets in the end zone, has the slant to get them into field goal range to tie the game, makes a big catch in overtime. The dude is really coming into his own, and it really seems that all he needed was a point guard to give him the ball because he knows what to do when he gets it. There's not really any corner that can go toe-to-toe with him consistently on jump ball opportunities. He seems fearless in the middle, and I mean, what, are you going to tackle a 6'4", 230-pound in the open field? I doubt it. So, outside of Drake London, obviously Darnell Mooney is looking like a solid sign for you guys. Looks very good in that Atlanta Falcons uniform as well. I know he had a couple drops tonight, but he made up for it. 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts got more involved in the offense, which even more than Bijan Robinson, it's like, where is Kyle Pitts? MIA. Well, he was not MIA tonight. You could find him 7 times for 88 yards. First pass of the game, 32-yard catch on a seam route down the middle. Great sign. Kirk Cousins came in there to distribute the rock, and he's doing just that. Outside of that, the best storyline of the game, outside of all that just took place, Kadero Hodge. I didn't know who the hell he was coming in this game, and I bet you 99% of people outside of the Falcons organization didn't know who the hell he was. 7-year vet, 0 catches in his career. Tonight comes in for Drake London after he has to go get tested for concussion. Makes a nice catch over the middle. And then in overtime, hauls in a 5-yard hitch route, breaks a tackle, and burns the defenders for a 50-yard walk-off touchdown. His first 2 catches in his NFL career, and one is a walk-off game-winning touchdown in overtime on Thursday Night Football. This is what football is all about. This is what sports is all about. These stories that you would never have any way of knowing, and these guys getting an opportunity to make a play and they seize it. He was very emotional after the game. He was praising God, which is always an awesome thing to see from these players. They're obviously based. He was emotional, and I would be too. I was emotional watching it. I'm like, damn, this guy's worked so hard for 7 years with 0 recognition, with 0 work to show for all the effort that he's put in, and tonight it finally pans out. They were dogging him in the locker room, all over him, dumping water bottles, just mobbing him. What a moment. Drake London told him, soak it in. They asked him, Drake, what do you have to say to him? He's like, I don't know. I've never caught a 50-yard walk-off touchdown for my first catch. Just live it up. So, really awesome win for the Falcons. That place was rocking. You honor Matt Ryan, the quarterback who brought you to a Super Bowl. You know, Tony Gonzalez is there working with the Amazon crew. Obviously, Falcons legend. And you guys get the game-winning touchdown. Really awesome. That's what football's all about. Moving on to the Bucs, and if you're the Buccaneers, this one hurts. This one stings just more than normal because, as we mentioned, division opponent, Thursday night, you really outplayed the Falcons for most of the game, and you don't even get an opportunity in overtime, which, let's just establish this. I don't have any issue that the Buccaneers didn't get an opportunity to go and tie the game. Football's a team sport. Okay, the Bucs defense could not stop them all night and in overtime. Listen, it takes 53 guys plus coaches to win a game in the NFL. Why should it only take half the team in overtime? You got to make a stop. And they couldn't. But outside of that, you really played a damn good game. Baker Mayfield has just continued his run of dominance since the beginning of this year and going back into the playoffs from last year. He looks at home. And really, there's no better player that fits their organization more than Baker Mayfield does as the Buccaneers quarterback. And this guy, dating all the way back to when he was a walk-on at Oklahoma, fights his way to the starting quarterback, wins the Heisman, ends up being the number 1 overall pick, starts at Cleveland, gets their first win in almost 2 seasons, coming in for an injury on Thursday night against the Jets, brings them to the playoffs, gets a playoff win against the Steelers, who have just beat the shit out of you for my entire life. Then you get kicked to the curb. Browns don't know what the hell they're doing. You get sent to the Panthers. You look terrible. Then you go to the Rams. You lead them on a 99-game winning drive with being there for like 3 days, barely knowing the playbook. And then you finally get your opportunity in a team that believed you with the structure to succeed. And he's done just that. Another reason why the NFL is so freaking awesome. And he looks great. 19 for 23, only 180 yards passing, but on 23 attempts, that's pretty good. Another 3 touchdowns as well in the air. No turnovers. Couple good scrambles to move the chains. No complaints for Baker Mayfield. He was just as good as Kirk Cousins in this game. You could tell both QBs were feeling it. Obviously, you can't talk about the Bucs unless you talk about Mike Evans. This guy, I mean, him and Derrick Henry must be sharing the same diet plan because these guys are 30 years old and they're still looking like the best at their position. Surefire Hall of Famer. Every year he's been in the NFL, 1,000 yards receiving, a lot of the time with a quarterback that's probably not as good as me. Not saying I'm good, that's the point. And he just hasn't lost it. Chris Godwin has found a slight resurgence. He's been banged up past couple years. He's looking dominant in the slot. You got a nice two-headed monster between Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. And I know Bucky Irving fumbled the ball late in the fourth quarter. It didn't really amount to anything. It might have ended up icing the game for you guys, but it's not like the Falcons went down the field and scored and won the game on that drive. It still hurts. But he's shown you so much to like. So you have those 2 running backs. I just established that you have good weapons at wide receiver. You have a star left tackle. Some nights you just get outplayed and slightly outlucked. And tonight that happened. Just wasn't falling your way. You block a kick. You know, you have multiple good drives where you feel like you're putting the Falcons away, but they just stayed in the game. And that's all it is in the NFL. That's why the Chiefs are 4-0. It's because they're in the game and they get an opportunity with a few minutes left and they seize that opportunity. And sometimes it's just how the time of possession falls. And tonight it fell in the Falcons' favor. You're still 3-2. You still have looked the best out of any team in the NFC South. I would say out of the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucs, obviously. You're not going to include the Panthers. I mean, Alabama could probably beat them. You have looked the best, and you've looked the most consistent, and you have the most turnover as a roster. So you're not going to worry. This is why it's important to get off to a hot start. You're going into this game 3-1. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL. You drop a heartbreaker on Thursday night to your division opponent, but you're still 3-2. You'll take that. If you average this for the rest of the season, you're going to be in the playoffs. So you started fast and you look good. This was not a game where, the Bucs blew it. The Bucs, they just didn't have it. Now they had it. The Falcons just had it more. So that pretty much is it. I'm pretty hyped up right now. That was an awesome game. We've had a couple stinkers so far on Thursday Night Football. Obviously, the season opener between the Ravens and the Chiefs, that was an awesome game. But as far as Amazon Prime games, you had the Bills and Dolphins. The Bills boat raced the Dolphins. The Jets made the Patriots look how everybody thought they would look. But tonight was the first true Thursday night game that you couldn't look away from the screen. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to get on here. We're going to talk about the Mets coming back in the 9th inning to win the wild card series. We're going to jump sports. We're going to talk about baseball. We have to. October, baby. You got to love it. This is the Elijah Talks Ball podcast. We talk ball, football, baseball, maybe even some basketball. That's what we love to do. So, hope you guys have a great Friday. We'll be on here tomorrow. We'll talk some more. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace out.